Hey guys, tonight we're diving into the salty, sun-warmed waters of ancient Greece, where the ocean churns with drama, and a certain sea god's ego takes a bruising. Picture yourself floating on a wooden raft, the horizon glinting like polished bronze, while gulls squawk overhead and the waves whisper secrets. We're unraveling the tale of Poseidon, the mighty god of the seas who got jealous of brace yourself a fish. Not just any fish, mind you, but one so charismatic it had mortals and nymphs swooning. You're probably not going to survive this level of divine pettiness without a chuckle, so buckle up. So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. Drop a comment with your location and local time. I love knowing where you're chilling as we drift through this myth. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You're bobbing on the surface of the Aegean, the water cool against your skin, when you notice a ripple far out, where the sea meets the sky. It's not a wave or a dolphin's playful leap, but something shinier, the water parts, and a fish sleek silver, with scales that catch the sunlight like a mosaic glides into view. This is no ordinary swimmer. Its fins shimmer with an almost divine glow, and the currents seem to bow as it passes. You squint, half expecting it to wink at you, and honestly, it might. This fish, whispered about in coastal villages, has a reputation. Mortals call it the star of the sea, and they're building tiny shrines to it on the cliffs. You can almost hear the fishermen's songs, their nets cast wide, not for a catch, but for a glimpse of this aquatic celebrity. Now, let's get historical for a second. The ancient Greeks did worship sea creatures, especially dolphins, which they saw as messengers of Poseidon himself. Temples in places like Delphi sometimes featured fishy motifs, carved into stone as symbols of the ocean's mysteries. But here's a quirky tidbit. Some fringe myths from Crete talk about a sacred fish, possibly a glorified mullet, that sailors swore could guide lost ships to shore. Historians still argue whether these stories were poetic metaphors or if Greeks genuinely thought a fish could outshine their gods. You're leaning toward the latter because, well, this fish is stealing the show. You paddle closer, the raft creaking under you, and notice the sea's mood shifting. The waves grow choppy, and a low hum vibrates through the water like someone's strumming a giant lyre. You glance down and see a shadow massive, trident-shaped cutting through the depths. It's Poseidon, and he's not happy. His presence makes the air taste of salt and storm, and you can practically feel his scowl. This god, who commands earthquakes and tsunamis, is fuming because mortals are whispering about a fish instead of him. You'd laugh, but the sea's getting rougher, and your raft's starting to wobble. Maybe it's time to paddle back to shore, but you're too curious. Why is Poseidon so threatened? You decide to stick around, keeping one eye on that fish, which, by the way, just did a backflip like it's auditioning for a myth of its own. The fish darts through a school of minnows, and they scatter like confetti, reforming into patterns. That looks suspiciously like a crown. You're not sure if it's magic or just nature showing off, but the effect is dazzling. Mortals on a nearby skiff are pointing, their voices carrying over the water. There it is, the star. You roll. Your eyes Greeks and their flair for drama, but you get it. This fish has charisma, the kind that makes you forget about grumpy gods. Speaking of which, Poseidon's shadow looms closer, and you catch a glimpse of his eyes, green as sea glass and narrowed with envy. He's not just annoyed, he's personally offended. You can't help but smirk, imagine being the god of all oceans and losing your cool over a fish. It's like a chef getting mad at a particularly sassy carrot. You drift toward a rocky outcrop, the waves gentling as you near shallower waters. The fish is still out there, leading a parade of smaller fish in a spiral that's frankly hypnotic. You're starting to see why Poseidon's ego is taking a hit. This isn't just a fish. It's a phenomenon. You lean back on your raft, the sun warming your face, and wonder how this rivalry kicked off. Did the fish steal Poseidon's thunder at a divine beach party? Did it photobomb his latest tsunami? Whatever happened, you're hooked. The sea's alive with whispers, and you're ready to dive deeper into this absurd feud. Asterisk, you're still floating on your creaky raft, the Aegean stretching endless around you, its surface glinting like a sheet of hammered silver. The air smells of brine and warm rock, and the distant cries of gulls fade into a sleepy rhythm. That fish, the so-called star of the sea, is out there, cutting through the waves with a swagger. It's honestly a little obnoxious. You can't look away, though. Its scales flash in patterns, blue, gold, and a violet so deep it feels like staring into a dream. You're starting to get why mortals are obsessed, why they're carving its likeness into driftwood and whispering its name like it's a god. This fish isn't just swimming, it's performing, and you're front row for the show. The water's calm now, lapping gently at your raft, but you can still feel the faint tremor of Poseidon's earlier tantrum in the current. You're not worried yet. You're too busy, watching the fish work its magic. It leaps, arcs through the air, and lands with a splash that sends ripples racing toward you. A nearby fishing boat erupts in cheers, the crew tossing flowers into the sea like they're at a festival. You raise an eyebrow. Flowers? For a fish? But then you notice the boat's hull, painted with fish-shaped sigils, and it hits you. This isn't just admiration. It's devotion. These mortals are treating the fish like it's divine, and you're starting to wonder if it might be. Let's ground this in history for a moment. The ancient Greeks were big on animism, seeing spirits in everything from trees to rivers. Coastal communities, especially in places like Rhodes, often revered sea creatures as omens or guides. Dolphins got the most love, sure, but fish weren't far behind. Now, here's a quirky tidbit. Some pottery fragments from Corinth show fish with almost human faces, like the Greeks were half convinced they had souls. Historians still argue whether these were symbolic, or if sailors genuinely believed fish could be divine emissaries. You're leaning toward the latter, watching this fish charm the socks off everyone. It's not just a fish, it's a movement. You paddle closer to the fishing boat, curious. The crew's singing now, a low, lilting hymn that makes the hair on your arms stand up. The words are old, older than the boat, maybe older than the cliffs looming in the distance. They're singing about the star of the sea, how it led a lost fleet through a storm, how its glow lit the way when the moon hid. You're not sure if it's true, but the story's got weight, like a stone smoothed by centuries of tides. The fish, oblivious, darts through a patch of seaweed, and the sunlight bends around it, casting a halo. You snort halo? Really? But you can't deny the effect. It's like the sea itself is rolling out the red carpet. A joke bubbles up. Maybe. This fish is just Poseidon's estranged cousin, here to steal his thunder and his trident. You chuckle, but the thought lingers. The fish doesn't act like it's trying to upstage anyone. It's just a yin itself, gliding through the water with a grace that feels effortless. You lean over the raft's edge, peering into the depths. The water's clear here, and you spot schools of smaller fish trailing the star, mimicking its every move. It's got a fan club, and they're not subtle. You're half tempted to join them, but your raft's not exactly built for underwater. Choreography. The boat's crew notices you now, waving you over. You paddle closer, the wood groaning under you, and a grizzled fisherman leans out, his beard flecked with salt. Seen the star, have you? He asks, eyes twinkling like he's in on a cosmic joke. You nod, and he launches into a tale. The fish appeared a year ago, right after a freak calm, flattened a storm that should have sunk half the fleet. Since then, it's been spotted everywhere, leading boats to rich fishing grounds, calming rough seas, even scaring off sharks. You're skeptical, but the man's conviction is infectious. He points at a crude pendant around his neck, shaped like a fish. Brings luck, he says, and you're not sure if he means the pendant or the star itself. You drift back, letting the boat bob away. The fish is still out there, now weaving through a coral reef that glows pink and orange in the yaw. Shallows. You're struck by how unbothered it seems, how it doesn't need to flaunt its fame. It's just doing its thing, and the world's bending to notice. You think of Poseidon, probably sulking somewhere deep, and smirk. Imagine being a god with all that power and getting outshined by something that doesn't even know it's winning. The sun's dipping now, painting the sea gold, and the fish catches the light just right, looking less like a creature and more like a spark of something eternal. You're hooked, and you know it. You're still adrift on your rickety raft, the Aegean surface now a deep indigo as the sun slinks lower, casting long shadows that dance with the waves. The air's cooler, carrying a tang of seaweed and distant storms, and your skin prickles with the sea's restless energy. That fish, the star of the sea, is out of sight for now, probably dazzling some other corner of the ocean. You're alone, or so you think, until the water churns beneath you. A slow, deliberate swirl that makes your raft tilt. You grip the edges, heart thudding, because you know who's down there. Poseidon's not just passing by, he's brooding. And you're caught in the wake of his divine sulk. The sea grows still, unnaturally so, like it's holding its breath. You peer over the edge, and there he is, a faint silhouette in the depths, his massive form coiled around a coral spire. His palace looms behind him, all jagged shells and glowing pearls, like a fortress built to intimidate. You can't see his face, but the water pulses with his mood, petulant, stormy, and just a tad pathetic. You almost feel sorry for him. Almost. This is the god who splits continents, yet here he is, pouting because a fish is stealing his fanbase. You stifle a laugh, but the sea ripples, as if he's caught your vibe. Let's anchor this in history. Poseidon was a big deal in ancient Greece, second only to Zeus in the pantheon's power rankings. Coastal cities like Corinth built massive temples to him, complete with bronze tridents and sacrificial bulls. But here's a quirky tidbit. Some obscure texts from Miletus mention sailors offering fish-shaped cakes to appease Poseidon, as if he had a soft spot for aquatic pastries. Historians still argue whether these offerings were symbolic, or if Greeks thought Poseidon was vain enough to be flattered by fishy tributes. You're betting on vanity, given the tantrum you're witnessing. You decide to paddle closer to the palace, curiosity outweighing the risk of capsizing. The water's clearer here, and you spot details. Columns of twisted coral, mosaics of abalone that shimmer like oil slicks, and schools of fish darting nervously, like they know their boss is in a mood. You're not sure if you're brave or just nosy, but you lean over, catching a glimpse of Poseidon himself. He's sprawled on a throne of polished stone, trident propped lazily against one shoulder. His hair, green as kelp, floats in slow waves, and his eyes are fixed on a tiny seashell in his hand. You squint. Yep, it's carved with the image of that fish. He's obsessed, and not in a cute way. The sea god mutters something, and the water carries his voice, low and gravelly, like pebbles grinding together. A fish, he grumbles. A fish gets their songs? You bite your lip to keep from snickering. It's like watching a CEO lose it over an intern's viral TikTok. You'd offer him a pep talk, but you're pretty sure he'd zap you into a barnacle. Instead, you watch as he crushes the seashell, the fragments sinking like snow. The palace trembles, and a crack splinters through a nearby column. Yikes, You paddle back a bit, just in case he decides to take his angst out on the surface world. Joke pops into your head. Maybe Poseidon's just mad because the fish didn't sign his fan mail. You grin, but the thought lingers. Why is he so rattled? You glance around, half expecting the fish to pop up and moon him, but the sea's empty, save for a lone crab scuttling across a rock. You're starting to see the pattern. The fish doesn't have to try. It just is, and that's what's driving Poseidon nuts. He's got the trident, the palace, the whole ocean on speed dial, but he's craving the one thing he can't command: adoration. You almost sympathize, but then you remember he could drown you for fun, so you keep that thought to yourself. The palace glows faintly now, its pearls catching the last of the daylight. You notice something odd: tiny fish, hundreds of them, circling the outer walls like sentries. They're mimicking the star's signature swirl, the one you saw earlier. You raise an eyebrow. Even Poseidon's backyard is teen fish. No wonder. He's sulking. You lean back on your raft, the wood creaking, and let the waves rock you. The sea's quiet again, but it's a tense quiet, like the pause before a thunderclap. You're not sure what Poseidon's planning, but you're betting it's dramatic. For now, you close your eyes, the hum of the ocean lulling you, and wonder how a fish managed to get under a god's skin so thoroughly. Asterisk, you're still out here, bobbing on your trusty raft, the Aegean now a velvet purple, under a sky pricked with early stars. The air's gone chilly, wrapping you in a damp shawl of mist, and the sea's whispers have faded to a soft, rhythmic sigh. Poseidon's coral palace is out of sight, sunk back into the depths, but you can still feel his grumpy vibes lingering. In the water, like a bad aftertaste. You're not focused on him right now, though. Your eyes are fixed upward, toward the hazy glow of Mount Olympus, where the gods are stirring. You can't see them, but you know they're up there, lounging on clouds, sipping nectar, and let's be real, gossiping about Poseidon's fish fiasco. You smirk, imagining their snark, because nothing says divine like a good old-fashioned roast. The sea's calm, rocking your raft like a cradle, but the air feels charged, like static before a storm. You tilt your head back, catching faint glimmers from the sky, maybe starlight, maybe the gods' laughter bouncing off the heavens. You're close enough to the mainland to hear the distant clatter of a coastal village, but your mind's on Olympus. You picture the scene. Athena, all sharp wit and owl feathers, leaning toward Hermes, who's probably juggling figs and cracking jokes. They're not talking about war or mortals or Zeus's latest fling. No, they're dissecting Poseidon's meltdown over a fish. You can almost hear Athena's dry, "Really, brother? A fish?" while Hermes cackles loud enough to startle a constellation. Let's toss in some history. The Greeks saw Olympus as more than a mountain. It was a divine soap opera set, where gods bickered like family at a reunion. Temples, like the one at Olympia, often depicted the pantheon in carved friezes, showing them lounging or scheming. Here's a quirky tidbit. Some vase paintings from Athens show gods laughing at each other's expense, like a divine comedy club. One rare piece even hints at Poseidon being mocked for a sea-related blunder, possibly fish-related, who knows? Historians still argue whether these artworks were satire or straight-up worship, but you're betting the Greeks loved a good godly burn. It fits the vibe up there tonight. You shift on the raft, the wood creaking, and imagine yourself eavesdropping. You're not on Olympus, mortals don't get VIP passes, but you're close enough in spirit, floating between sea and sky. The gods' voices drift down, not in words but in feelings, like a warm buzz in your chest. Athena's probably leading the charge, her voice cool and cutting. He's sculpted entire reefs, she might say, and now he's jealous of a minnow? Hermes, ever the instigator, would chime in. Bet he's polishing his trident to challenge it to a duel. You chuckle, because the image of Poseidon squaring off with a fish is peak absurdity. You're tempted to shout up, "Get a grip, guys!" But you'd rather not attract Zeus's lightning, or worse, Poseidon's attention. The sea ripples suddenly, and you freeze, thinking it's him again. But it's just a dolphin, popping up to eye you curiously before diving back down. You relax, but the moment's got you thinking. The gods aren't just mocking Poseidon for fun. They're poking at his pride, that soft spot even immortals can't hide. You lean back, the raft swaying, and picture Apollo joining in, strumming his lyre with a sarcastic ballad about the fish that stole the sea. You laugh softly, joke number one. Maybe Apollo's song goes viral, and Poseidon bans lyres. From the ocean. The gods would love that, stirring the pot while Poseidon stews below. You glance at the sky again, the stars sharper now. The gods' laughter feels closer, like a shared secret. You're not sure if it's your imagination, or some divine Wi-Fi, but you catch a flash of Hermes zipping across the sky, leaving a trail of golden sparks. He's probably spreading the gossip to every nymph and satyr from here to Delphi. You roll your eyes, typical Hermes, turning a god's bad day into a cosmic meme. But there's something cozy about it, too, like you're part of the joke. The sea's gentle now, lapping at your raft, and you wonder if the fish knows it's the talk of Olympus. Probably not. It's too busy being fabulous. A second joke hits you. Maybe the fish is secretly Hermes in disguise, pranking Poseidon for kicks. You grin, but the thought fades as the sky pulses, a faint glow rippling across it. The gods are still at it, their amusement wrapping you like a blanket. You yawn, the sea's rhythm pulling you toward sleep, but you're not ready to drift off yet. Poseidon's down there, sulking, and the gods are up here, giggling, and you're caught in the middle, waiting to see who blinks first. For now, you let the stars and the waves keep you company, their soft hum, a reminder that even gods can't escape a good roast. You're still swaying on your raft, the Aegean now a glassy black mirror reflecting a sky bursting with stars. The air's crisp, laced with the sharp scent of salt and wet wood, and the sea's so still you can hear your own breathing. The echo of Olympian laughter has faded, leaving you alone with the gentle lap of waves and the occasional splash of a fish. Probably not the fish, but you're keeping an eye out. Your mind drifts back to that shimmering star of the sea, the one that's got Poseidon in a twist. You're not near his palace anymore, but you're closer to shore, where the water's shallow and the coral glows faintly under the moonlight. And there it is, a flash of silver, cutting through the reef like a comet. The fish is back, and it's putting on a show. You paddle quietly, drawn to the commotion. The star of the sea isn't alone. It's leading a parade of sea creatures, turtles, octopuses, even a pair of seahorses, twirling like they're in a ballroom. The water sparkles around them, as if the fish's glow is contagious, and the reef itself seems to pulse with life. Corals blooming in colors you didn't know existed. It's a festival, an underwater rave, and you're the only human invited. You lean over the raft's edge, mesmerized, as the fish weaves through the crowd, its scales flashing like a disco ball. The sea's alive with movement, and you can't help but grin. This fish knows how to throw a party. Let's tie this to history. The Greeks loved festivals, and coastal towns like Ephesus held sea-themed celebrations to honor Poseidon, complete with dances and offerings. But here's a quirky tidbit. Some Minoan frescoes from Crete show fish in ceremonial scenes, almost like they were mascots of the sea's bounty. Historians still argue whether these fish were symbolic of divine favor or just really good PR. For the fishing industry, you're betting on the former, watching this aquatic extravaganza unfold. This isn't just a parade. It's a statement, and the fish is the star of the show. You're close enough now to feel the water's warmth, heated by the reef's glow. The fish leads its entourage in a spiral, and the sea creatures follow in perfect sync, like they've rehearsed this for centuries. You spot a dolphin doing flips, clearly showing off, and a crab scuttling along the seafloor, waving its claws like it's conducting an orchestra. You chuckle joke number one. Maybe the crab's the fish's manager, booking gigs across the Mediterranean. The thought's absurd, but it fits. This fish isn't just charming. It's magnetic, pulling every creature into its orbit without even trying. You're starting to see why Poseidon's ego is bruised. He'd need a tsunami to match this charisma. The parade loops closer to your raft, and you hold your breath, half expecting the fish to notice you. It doesn't, but its glow lights up the water, revealing tiny details. Anemones swaying like fans, jellyfish pulsing softly, and shells glinting like scattered coins. You're struck by the harmony of it all, the way the sea seems to celebrate the fish's presence. You think of the fishermen's songs, the shrines on the cliffs, and realize this isn't just a mortal obsession. The ocean itself is team fish. You lean back, the raft creaking, and let the scene sink in. It's beautiful, sure, but it's also a flex, a reminder that this fish doesn't need a trident to rule the waves. Second joke hits you. Maybe Poseidon's sulking because he wasn't invited to this party. You smirk, imagining him gate crashing with a tidal wave, only to be outshined again. The fish darts through a coral arch, and the crowd erupts in a flurry of bubbles, like underwater applause. You're tempted to clap, but you don't want to. Spook the vibe. Instead, you watch as the parade spirals upward, breaking the surface in a burst of foam. The fish leaps, its arc framed by the moon, and for a moment, it's not just a fish, it's a myth in motion, something the Greeks would carve into marble and sing about for generations. The sea settles, the parade drifting deeper, but the glow lingers, like a memory you can't shake. You're alone again, the raft rocking gently, but you feel changed, like you've witnessed something sacred. The stars overhead seem brighter, and the sea's hum is softer, almost reverent. You think of Poseidon, probably seething in his palace, and wonder if he's spying on this festival too. If he is, he's got to be fuming. This fish isn't just stealing his spotlight, it's rewriting the script. You yawn, the night's chill seeping in, but you're not ready to paddle back yet. The sea's still whispering, and you want to hear what it says next. Asterisk, you're still drifting on your weathered raft. The Aegean now a deep, inky expanse under a sky where the moon hangs low, casting a silvery path across the water. The air's grown sharper, prickling your skin with salt and the faint musk of kelp, and the sea's gentle sway feels like a lullaby you could sink into. The underwater festival is long gone, its glow faded into the depths, but the memory of that fish, the star of the sea, lingers, like a tune you can't stop humming. You're alone again, the waves whispering secrets, when a low rumble vibrates through the water, making your raft shudder. You know that sound. Poseidon's back, and he's not here to party. You grip the raft's edges, eyes scanning the dark, because something tells you the sea god's about to do something petty. The water churns, slow at first, then faster, like a pot coming to a boil. You spot a flicker of green light deep below Poseidon's trident. No doubt, and the sea's mood shifts, heavy with his intent. You're not scared exactly, but you're definitely alert. This isn't the sulky Poseidon from before. This is the god who sinks ships for fun. You lean forward, peering into the depths, and catch a glimpse of him. Massive, shadowed, moving with purpose toward his coral palace. He's not brooding anymore. He's scheming, and you're betting it's about that fish. You smirk, because of course it is. The stars' parade must have been the last straw, and now Poseidon's cooking up a plan to reclaim his spotlight. Let's ground this in history. Poseidon was known for his temper, and Greek myths often depict him as vengeful. Think of Odysseus, cursed for a decade over a slight. Temples in places like Sunyan were built to appease him, with priests offering horses to calm his wrath. But here's a quirky tidbit. Some coastal myths mention Poseidon crafting sea creatures to outdo his rivals, like when he made horses to one-up Athena. Historians still argue whether these stories show him as creative or just desperate for attention. You're leaning toward the latter, given the vibe you're picking up. He's not about to let a fish steal his thunder without a fight. You paddle cautiously, keeping your distance from the palace's glow, now pulsing like a warning beacon. The water's warmer here, heated by some divine energy, and you spot bubbles, rising in patterns like Morse code for God on a mission. You imagine Poseidon pacing his throne room, trident in hand, muttering about mortals and their fishy shrines. Maybe he's sketching a plan on a giant clamshell. Step 1. Humiliate the fish. Step 2. Remind everyone who's boss. You chuckle joke number 1. Maybe he's hiring a sea monster to photobomb the fish's next parade. The thoughts. Ridiculous, but with Poseidon, you wouldn't rule it out. He's got the ego for it. The sea calms for a moment, and you relax, letting the raft drift. You picture Poseidon's scheme taking shape. Maybe a grand display of power, like a title, wave to dwarf the fish's glow, or a new creature to outshine it. You're curious, but also a little worried for the fish. It's just doing its thing after all, not picking a fight. You lean over, scanning the water, and notice tiny fish darting nervously, like they've heard the boss's plan. You can't blame them. Poseidon's not exactly subtle. Remember that time he flooded a city because they picked Athena's olive tree? Yeah, you're not forgetting that crocodile dung sunscreen level pettiness from earlier myths. A second joke hits you. Maybe Poseidon's plan is to challenge the fish to a dance-off, trident versus fins. You grin, imagining him practicing moves in his palace, only to trip over a sea urchin. The image is pure gold, but the sea's rumbling again, pulling you back. The green glow intensifies, and you spot shapes moving below Nereids, maybe, or sea spirits scurrying to carry out his orders. You're too far to see details, but the vibe's clear. Poseidon's rallying his court, and it's all about outshining the star. You yawn, the night's chill creeping in, but you're hooked. What's he cooking up? A storm? A monster? Or something so over the top it'll backfire spectacularly? The raft rocks gently, the moon's light softening the sea's edges. You think of the fish, probably oblivious, swimming somewhere with its fan club. You hope it's ready for whatever Poseidon's plotting, because this feud's about to escalate. For now, you let the waves carry you, the hum of the sea blending with your thoughts. The stars twinkle above, and you wonder if the gods on Olympus are watching, placing bets on how this plays out. You're betting on chaos, and you can't wait to see it unfold. You're still out here, swaying on your salt-crusted raft, the Aegean now a vast, shimmering void under a moon that's climbed high, bathing everything in a pale, ghostly glow. The air's sharp with the bite of night, carrying a faint whiff of fish and wet stone, and the sea's so quiet you can hear the creak of your own joints as you shift. The memory of Poseidon's scheming lingers, that green trident glow still burning in your mind's eye. You're not near his palace anymore, having drifted closer to a rocky outcrop where waves foam against jagged cliffs. But you can feel the sea god's energy in the water, a restless hum that says his plan's in motion. And then it happens, a surge of light erupts offshore, followed by a boom that rattles your raft. Poseidon's making his move, and it's predictably extra. The water explodes upward, not in a wave, but in a geyser, spraying mist that tastes of salt and ozone. You shield your eyes, heart racing, as the light coalesces into a shape. Poseidon, towering over the sea, his trident raised like a rock star's microphone. He's not aiming for subtle. The sky crackles, clouds swirling above him, and the sea churns into a vortex at his feet. You're far enough to avoid the worst, but you're raft spinning like a leaf in a drain. You grip the edges, half laughing, because this is Poseidon at his most dramatic, trying to flex for mortals who probably aren't even watching. He's putting on a show to outshine that fish, and it's already going sideways. Let's anchor. This in history. The Greeks saw Poseidon as a god of spectacle, often linked to natural phenomena like earthquakes and storms. Temples in places like Izmia hosted games in his honor, with sailors praying for calm seas. But here's a quirky tidbit. Some myths from Thera describe Poseidon conjuring sea spouts to impress mortals, only to accidentally wreck fishing boats. Historians still argue whether these stories were warnings about his temper, or just tales to explain freak weather. You're betting on ego, watching this over-the-top stunt unfold. He's trying to scream, "I'm the king," but the sea's not exactly cooperating. The vortex collapses, sending waves crashing toward you. You paddle hard, steering your raft toward the outcrop for cover. Poseidon's still at it, now summoning a pod of glowing dolphins to leap through hoops of foam. It's dazzling, sure, but also a bit desperate, like he Googled how to go viral and got bad advice. You can't help but snicker joke number one. Maybe he hired a nereid influencer to choreograph this, and she's already regretting it. The dolphins are trying, but one misjumps, splashing Poseidon's face, and you swear you see him scowl. The clouds above flicker with lightning, as if Zeus is up there chuckling at his brother's flop. You reach the outcrop, wedging your raft between rocks to stay put. From here, you've got a front row seat to the chaos. Poseidon's trident pulses, and now he's sculpting the sea into shapes giant waves shaped like horses, then a massive trident that collapses under its own weight. Mortals on a distant shore are pointing, but you can tell they're more confused than awed. You think of the fish's effortless parade, all glow and grace, and compare it to this. Poseidon's trying too hard, and it shows. You lean back, the rock cool against your shoulders, and wonder if he knows he's bombing. Probably not. Gods don't do self-reflection. A second joke pops up. Maybe Poseidon's stunt is his audition for the fish's fan club, and he's failing. The vibe, check. You grin, but the sea's getting rougher, waves slapping your raft. The dolphins scatter, and the light show dims, leaving Poseidon standing in a puddle of his own foam. He roars something, probably a curse about mortals, and dives back into the depths, the sea swallowing his glow. You're left with ringing ears and a soaked raft, but you're grinning. That was a train wreck, and you loved every second. The moon's still high, casting shadows on the cliffs, and you wonder if the fish saw any of this. You hope it did, just for the shade it could throw. The sea calms, but the air's heavy, like it's waiting for round two. You think of those fishermen's shrines, the songs for the star, and realize Poseidon's stunt didn't change a thing. If anything, it made him look smaller. You yawn, the night's chill sinking in, but you're too wired to doze off. The sea's whispering again, and you're betting the fish is out there, unbothered, while Poseidon licks his wounds. You settle against the rock, the waves' rhythm soothing your pulse, and wait for the next act in this divine comedy. Asterisk, you're still perched on your battered raft, tucked against the rocky outcrop where the Aegean's waves foam and hiss like a grumpy cat. The moon's a silver coin overhead, painting the sea in streaks of light, and the air's thick with the briny scent of seaweed and damp stone. Poseidon's disastrous stunt is just a memory now, the sea settling into a lazy rhythm, but you can still feel the echo of his frustration in the water's restless churn. You're scanning the horizon, half expecting him to pop up for an encore, when a soft glow catches your eye near the shore. It's not divine pyrotechnics this time. It's that fish, the star of the sea, gliding into a shallow cove where a cluster of villagers has gathered. You paddle closer, curious, because it looks like the fish is about to steal the show again. The cove is alive with soft chatter and the flicker of oil lamps, their light dancing on the water. You wedge your raft behind a boulder, close enough to see, but far enough to stay unnoticed. The villagers, fishermen, weavers, kids with sandy feet are lined up along the pebbled beach, their faces lit with quiet awe. The fish is in the shallows, its scales shimmering like liquid starlight, and it's doing slow, graceful loops, as if it knows it's got an audience. You can't help but smile. This fish isn't just charismatic. It's a natural performer, charming the crowd without a single trident or tidal wave. You're starting to see why Poseidon's so threatened. Let's tie this to history. Coastal Greek communities often held rituals by the sea, especially in places like Miletus, where they honored marine deities with offerings of shells and fish. These gatherings weren't just religious. They were social, binding villages together. Here's a quirky tidbit. Some amphorae from Rhodes show scenes of people tossing flowers into the sea for ocean spirits, possibly fish or nymphs. Historians still argue whether these were symbolic acts, or if Greeks genuinely believed sea creatures could bless them. You're betting on belief. Watching these villagers toss petals into the cove, their murmurs blending with the wave's hushed dot. The fish dips under a wave, then resurfaces, its glow brighter, like it's soaking up the crowd's adoration. A young girl at the water's edge giggles, tossing a braided reed that the fish nudges playfully before darting away. The villagers laugh, and you do. Joke number 1. Maybe the fish is running for mayor of this village, and it's already got the kid vote. The mood's warm, almost sacred, and you notice crude fish-shaped charms dangling from wrists and necks. These people aren't just fans. They're devotees, and the fish is their muse. You think of Poseidon's geyser fiasco and smirk. No wonder. He's losing it. This is the kind of love he can't buy with a light show. You lean forward, the raft creaking, and catch snippets of the villagers' talk. They're swapping stories. The fish guiding a lost boat to shore, its glow calming a storm. Even a tale of it outsmarting a shark. You're skeptical but charmed, because the stories feel true in spirit, like the sea itself is speaking through them. An old woman, her voice like weathered driftwood, calls the fish a gift of the deep, and the crowd nods. You wonder if they know about Poseidon's tantrum, if they care. Probably not. This fish is their hero, and you're starting to root for it too. A second joke hits you. Maybe the fish is giving Poseidon a masterclass in PR, and he's too salty to take notes. You grin, but the scene shifts as the fish swims closer to shore, its movements slow and deliberate. The villagers hush, leaning in, and you do too, your breath catching. It's not doing anything grand, just existing. Its glow soft but steady, like a heartbeat. Yet the effect is electric. A fisherman kneels, muttering a prayer, and you realize this isn't just a show. It's a moment, one the villagers will weave into their songs and pass down for generations. You think of those cliffside shrines, the fishermen's hymns, and feel the weight of it all. The fish slips back into deeper water, its glow fading like a candle snuffed out. The villagers linger, reluctant to leave, their lamps flickering as the night deepens. You stay put, the raft rocking gently, and let the scene settle in your bones. The sea's quiet now, but it's a full quiet, rich with meaning. You yawn, the chill seeping through your clothes, but you're not ready to paddle away. The fish is out there, still shining, and Poseidon's probably fuming harder than ever. You close your eyes, the waves' rhythm blending with your pulse, and wonder how this feud will escalate next. For now, you're content to drift, wrapped in the cove's lingering warmth. You're still nestled against the rocky outcrop, your raft bobbing gently in the Aegean's inky embrace, the moon now a soft crescent, casting a delicate shimmer across the water. The air's grown colder, biting at your fingertips, and the sea's scent is sharper, laced with the tongue of iodine and wet pebbles. The cove's warm glow is a memory, the villagers long gone, their lamps snuffed out as they return to their huts. You're alone again? The waves' soft hush your only company, but the star of the sea's quiet charisma lingers in your mind, a spark that refuses to fade. You're replaying its gentle dance in the shallows when the sea trembles, a deep, angry pulse that makes your raft lurch. You know that vibe Poseidon's back, and he's not here to applaud the fish's fan base. His rage is boiling, and you're about to feel the heat. The water churns, dark waves rearing like spooked horses, and a low roar builds, vibrating through your bones. You grip the raft, eyes wide, as the sea splits offshore, revealing a green glow that pulses like a warning. It's Poseidon, rising from the depths, his trident crackling with energy that makes the air taste of storms. His silhouette is massive, dwarfing the cliffs, and his eyes burn with a fury that could sink islands. You're far enough to stay safe barely, but the sea's turning feral, waves slamming the outcrop, spraying you with foam. You wipe your face, heart pounding, because this isn't the petty Poseidon of before. This is the god who drowns fleets, and he's done playing nice. You mutter, "Chill, dude," but the sea's roar drowns you out. Let's ground this in. History. Poseidon's wrath was a core theme in Greek mythology, often tied to his role as Earthshaker. Cities like Athens built altars to him after quakes, hoping to avoid worse. Here's a quirky tidbit. Some tales from Lesbos claim Poseidon once raged so hard he turned a nymph into a jellyfish for snubbing him petty, even for him. Historians still argue whether these stories were meant to explain natural disasters, or just highlight his volatile ego. You're betting on ego, watching him tower over the sea, his trident stabbing the sky like he's declaring war on the fish. This isn't about mortals anymore. It's personal. The sea boils around him, whirlpools, spinning like angry eyes, and you spot sea creatures, fleeing crabs scuttling, fish darting, even a turtle paddling for cover. You can't blame them. Poseidon's voice thunders, not in words, but in a raw, elemental growl that shakes the cliffs. You catch fragments of his rants, something about ungrateful tides and that wretched glimmer. You roll your eyes yep. He's still obsessed with the fish. You'd laugh, but a wave nearly flips your raft, and you're too busy clinging on. Joke number one. Maybe Poseidon's just mad the fish didn't RSVP to his geyser party. The thought's absurd, but it keeps you grounded as the sea rages. You wedge the raft tighter against the rocks, the stone scraping your knuckles. From here, you see Poseidon's full tantrum. He's whipping the sea into froth, sending waves crashing toward the shore where the villagers' shrines stand. You wince, hoping those fish-shaped charms hold up. His trident pulses, and the water glows sickly green, like a bruise. You think of the fish's soft, starry light and realize Poseidon's trying to drown it out, to make the sea his again. But it's not working. The waves are chaos, not majesty, and you can almost feel the ocean resisting, like it's loyal to the fish. You smirk good luck bullying the sea, buddy? A second joke hits you. Maybe Poseidon's rage is just him practicing for the grumpy cat audition. You grin, but the sea's still churning, and you're soaked, shivering against the rock. Poseidon's not slowing down. He hurls his trident into the depths, and the sea erupts in a geyser that rains shells and seaweed. You duck, a chunk of coral missing your head by inches. Okay, time to admit you're a little scared. But you're also hooked, because this is peak divine drama, and you're not missing the climax. The villager's cove is out of sight, but you hope the fish is safe, maybe hiding in a reef, unbothered by this meltdown. The storm eases slightly, the waves dropping to a sullen roll. Poseidon's still out there, his glow dimming as he sinks lower, but the sea's tense, like it's waiting for his next move. You relax your grip, catching your breath, and think of those fishermen's songs, their quiet faith in the fish. Poseidon's power is raw, terrifying, but it's hollow compared to the star's effortless charm. You yawn, the adrenaline fading, and settle against the rock, the sea's rhythm soothing your nerves. The moon's softer now, its light a gentle reminder that even gods can't outshine what's truly loved. You're ready for whatever comes next, but for now, you let the waves carry you. Asterisk, you're still clinging to your raft, wedged against the rocky outcrop, the Aegean now a restless beast under a sky where the moon's light frays into wisps of cloud. The air's raw, stinging your cheeks with salt and the faint reek of churned seaweed, and the sea's pulse is unsteady, like a heart recovering from a scare. Poseidon's tantrum has subsided, his green glow swallowed by the depths. But the waves still carry his anger, slapping the rocks with sullen force. You're soaked, shivering, and frankly over his drama, but your mind's on the star of the sea, that fish that's got him so unhinged. You're scanning the dark water, hoping it's safe, when a soft murmur drifts from the cliffs, a group of figures, barely visible, moving with purpose. You squint, realizing it's not villagers, but gods. Athena and Hermes, to be exact, and they're here to poke the bear. You paddle quietly, edging your raft along the outcrop for a better view. The sea's calmer now, letting you glide without fighting the current. Athena's silhouette is sharp, her owl perched on her shoulder, its eyes like tiny moons. Hermes is beside her, his winged sandals flickering as he hovers just above the rocks, grinning like a kid who's found the best gossip. They're not here to help Poseidon. They're here to tease him, and you're all in for it. The air crackles with their presence, a mix of wisdom and mischief that makes the night feel alive. You lean forward, the raft creaking, and strain to catch their words, knowing this is about to be good. Let's tie this to history. The Greek gods were often portrayed as a dysfunctional family, with sibling rivalries fueling myths. Temples like Delphi's honored multiple deities, but vase paintings from Athens show gods teasing each other, especially Poseidon for his temper. Here's a quirky tidbit. A rare tablet from Naxos mentions Hermes pulling pranks on Poseidon, like stealing his trident for a laugh. Historians still argue whether these stories were moral lessons or just divine sitcom fodder. You're betting on the latter, watching Hermes practically bounce with glee, while Athena keeps it cool. They're here to roast Poseidon, and you're ready to eavesdrop. Athena's voice cuts through the night, dry as desert sand. A fish, brother? You're shaking the earth over a fish? You bite your lip to keep from laughing. Yep, she went there. Hermes chimes in, his tone all mock concern. Maybe it's got a better trident. Should we get it a crown? You? Snort, and the raft wobbles joke number one. Maybe Hermes is planning to gift the fish a tiny trident, just to see Poseidon explode. The owl hoots like it's in on the joke, and you're grinning, because this is the Olympian equivalent of a group chat blowing up. Poseidon's nowhere in sight, but you can imagine him fuming below, the sea probably bubbling with his embarrassment. You inch closer, the rocks shielding you from view. Athena's pacing now, her spear tapping the ground like she's lecturing. A naughty kid. You've got the entire ocean, she says, and you're jealous of a creature that doesn't even know it's famous. Her tone's light, but there's a sting. She's calling out his insecurity, and you're here for it. Hermes, never one to let a jab sit, mimics Poseidon's geyser stunt, flopping dramatically onto a rock with a "Behold my majesty." You choke back a laugh joke number two. Maybe Hermes is workshopping a one-god comedy show, and Poseidon's the punchline. The sea ripples, a faint tremor, and you freeze, thinking he's heard them. But it's just a wave, and the gods keep. Going dot, you settle back, the raft swaying gently. The teasing's playful, but you sense a nudge behind it. Athena's trying to talk sense into Poseidon, in her own sharp way, while Hermes just wants chaos. You think of the fish, probably swimming somewhere serene, oblivious to this divine intervention. You hope it stays that way? The villagers' songs, those cliffside shrines, flash in your mind, and you realize the gods aren't mocking the fish. They're marveling at it in their own way. Athena's probably impressed by its quiet power. Hermes just wants to party with it. You yawn, the night's chill seeping into your bones, but you're too invested to drift off. The gods' voices soften, their silhouettes blending into the cliffs as they move away. The sea's quiet again, but it's a thoughtful quiet, like it's digesting the gossip. You think of Poseidon's rage, his failed stunt, and now his siblings laughing at his expense. You almost feel sorry for him, but then you remember those waves nearly flipping your raft, and you're over it. The moon's fading behind clouds, and you settle against the rock, the waves' rhythm lulling you. The fish is still out there, shining, and you're betting it's got more fans than Poseidon right now. You close your eyes, ready for the next twist in this salty saga. You're still huddled on your raft, tucked against the jagged outcrop, the Aegean now a deep, velvet expanse under a sky where clouds have swallowed the moon's last glow. The air's damp and biting, carrying the sharp tang of salt and the faint musk of wet moss clinging to the rocks. The sea's settled into a slow, rhythmic pulse, as if it's catching its breath after Poseidon's meltdown and Athena's sharp-tongued jab. You're still chuckling over Hermes' theatrics, his mock geyser flop replaying in your head, but your thoughts drift back to the star of the sea. That fish, with its effortless charm, is the real MVP, and you're itching to see it again. You paddle gently, steering toward a shallow reef where the water's clear enough to spot flickers of life. Sure enough, there's a soft glow, faint but unmistakable. The fish is back, and it's working its quiet magic. The reef's a living mosaic, corals pulsing in pinks and blues, and the fish glides through it like a painter's brush, its scales catching the faintest starlight. You lean over the raft's edge, the wood creaking, and watch it weave between anemones and sea fans, trailed by a small posse of tiny fish that mimic its every move. It's not flashy like Poseidon's stunts, no whirlpools or lightning, but there's a power here, subtle and deep. The sea seems to lean toward it, currents softening, creatures gathering like they're drawn to a hearth. You're struck by how humble it is, just a fish, doing its thing, yet commanding the ocean's heart without a single roar. You smirk, thinking of Poseidon's tantrum, and wonder if he'd combust seeing this. Let's anchor this in history. The Greeks often saw the sea as a divine realm, with creatures like fish symbolizing its mysteries. In places like Knossos, Minoan art shows fish as emblems of fertility and guidance, almost sacred. Here's a quirky tidbit. Some fishermen in Chios swore certain fish were sea shepherds, leading boats to safety. Historians still argue whether these beliefs were poetic or literal, but you're betting on literal, watching this fish hold. Corked. Its glow, its calm, feels like something the Greeks would have carved into a temple frieze, a quiet rebuke to gods who need to shout to be seen. The fish pauses near a coral spire, its fins barely moving, and you swear it's aware of you. Not in a showy way, just a fleeting glance that says, "I see you." You freeze, half expecting it to wink, and chuckle joke number one. Maybe it's sizing you up for its fan club, checking if you've got the vibes. The thought's absurd, but it fits. This fish doesn't demand worship like Poseidon. It earns it, one gentle loop at a time. You notice a turtle nudge closer, its ancient eyes fixed on the fish, and a school of minnows swirling in a pattern that looks suspiciously like a heart. You roll your eyes, really, see? But you get it. This is love, not fear, and it's why. The fish is winning. You shift on the raft, the chill seeping through your damp clothes, and think of the villagers' cove, their petals and prayers. This fish isn't just a local hero. It's a phenomenon, rewriting the sea's story without trying. You imagine Poseidon spying from his palace, his trident sparking with envy and grin. He could learn a thing or two from this unassuming glow. The reef's light shifts, and you spot a lone octopus, its arms curling in slow, reverent waves, like it's paying homage. You're tempted to clap, but you don't want to break the spell. Instead, you watch, your breath syncing with the sea's rhythm as the fish leads its quiet parade. A second joke hits you. Maybe the fish is the sea's therapist, calming everyone while Poseidon's out here throwing tantrums. You snicker, but the thought lingers. There's a wisdom in this creature, a steadiness that feels ancient. The sea's alive with its presence. Corals brighter, currents gentler, and you feel it too. A warmth spreading through you despite the cold. You think of Athena's jab, Hermes' cackle, and realize even the gods are caught in this fish's orbit, even if they won't admit it. The reef glows softer now, the fish slipping deeper, its light a fading star. You yawn, the night's wait. Pressing down, but you're not ready to leave. The sea's whispering, and you want to hear its next verse. Asterisk, you're still drifting on your salt-worn raft. The Aegean now a glassy abyss under a sky where stars peek through thinning clouds. They're light sharp as pinpricks. The air's cold, slicing through your damp clothes, and the sea's scent is raw, all brine and crushed shells, with a hint of something electric, like a storm that never arrived. The reef's gentle glow has faded, the star of the sea slipping into the depths, but its quiet power lingers in the water's hush, a calm that feels like a held breath. You're mulling over its effortless charm when the sea quakes, a deep, bone-rattling surge that nearly tips your raft. You grab the edges, heart lurching, because you know that Poseidon's done sulking. He's back, and he's got a point to prove. The water splits offshore, green light flaring, and you brace yourself. He's challenging the fish to a duel, and you've got a front row seat to this divine showdown. The sea roars, waves rearing like wild beasts, and Poseidon rises, his trident blazing like a fallen star. He's not raging this time, he's focused, his massive form cutting through the foam with a purpose that makes your skin prickle. The air crackles, heavy with salt and ozone, and you spot his target, a faint silver glow near a coral ridge, the fish, unbothered, gliding through the shallows. Poseidon's voice booms, not in words, but a challenge that shakes the cliffs, daring the fish to face him. You roll your eyes, really? A duel? But you're hooked, paddling closer, the raft bucking against the choppy waves. This isn't just a flex. It's a god staking his claim, and you're betting it's about to get messy. Let's ground this in history. The Greeks loved contests, from Olympic races to mythic showdowns, often seeing them as divine tests. Poseidon, in tales like his rivalry with Athena over Athens, was all about proving his might through competition. Here's a quirky tidbit. Some obscure myths from Samos mention Poseidon challenging sea spirits to feats of splendor, like shaping waves or summoning creatures, to flex his dominance. Historians still argue whether these stories were about cosmic order or just godly showboating. You're betting on the latter, watching Poseidon loom over the fish, his trident sparking like he's ready to rewrite the sea's pecking order. This duel's his last shot to outshine the star. The fish doesn't flinch. Its glow steady, looping lazily through the coral like it's warming up for a casual swim. You lean forward, the raft creaking, and squint. Is it ignoring him? Mocking him? You can't tell, but Poseidon's not amused. He thrusts his trident, and the sea splits into a massive whirlpool, its edges glinting with emerald light. You grip the raft tighter, Waves slapping your face, and whistle okay. That's a power move. But the fish darts through the whirlpools, edge its fins barely flickering, and emerges on the other side unscathed. You laugh joke number one. Maybe the fish took a correspondence course in dodging divine tantrums. Poseidon's eyes narrow, and you swear the sea groans, like it's embarrassed for him. He tries again, summoning a towering wave shaped like a stallion, its crest foaming with fury. It charges the fish, and you hold your breath, thinking this. Is it? But the fish slips beneath, its glow pulsing brighter, and the wave collapses into harmless foam, drenching Poseidon instead. You snort, biting your lip to keep quiet joke number two. Maybe the fish is secretly a stunt double, trained to make gods look silly. The villagers' cove is too far to see, but you imagine them cheering, their fish-shaped charms glinting. Poseidon's face twists, not with rage, but something worse, humiliation. You almost feel bad, but then you remember his geyser flop, and you're over it. The duel's not over, but it's clear who's winning. The fish doesn't fight. It flows, its every move a quiet defiance of Poseidon's bluster. You think of the reef's harmony, the villagers' songs, and realize this isn't about strength, it's about presence. The sea's alive with the fish's glow, corals sparkling, currents bending to its rhythm. Poseidon's power is raw, but it's chaos. The fish's is steady, like a heartbeat. You yawn, the cold seeping deeper, but you're glued to the scene. The sea calms slightly, the whirlpool fading, and Poseidon lowers his trident, his glow dimming. You wonder if he's conceding or just regrouping. Either way, the fish swims on, and you're rooting for it, hard. The stars above wink, and you settle back, the waves hum wrapping you like a blanket, ready for the fallout. You're still out here, your raft rocking gently against the rugged outcrop. The Aegean, now a shimmering slate under a sky where stars burn brighter as clouds scatter. The air's crisp, stinging your damp skin with salt and a faint whiff of ozone left from Poseidon's theatrics. The sea's settled, its waves lapping lazily, but there's a hum in the water, a lingering echo of that absurd duel. You're replaying the star of the sea's slick moves dodging whirlpools, outshining Poseidon's stallion, wave and grinning like you just watched a god get schooled. The fish's glow is gone now, slipped back into the depths, but its victory hangs in the air, quiet and undeniable. You're scanning the dark water, half expecting Poseidon to resurface for round two when the sea ripples, not with rage, but something softer, almost grudging. You lean forward, the raft creaking, because this feels different. Poseidon's back, and he's not fighting anymore. A faint green light pulses below, not the angry blaze of before, but a muted glow, like a lantern turned low. You spot him, his massive form gliding through the shallows, trident trailing loosely in one hand. His face, usually all storm and scowl, is softer, his eyes fixed on the reef where the fish last shone. You raise an eyebrow. He's not here to throw waves or yell at the tides. He's watching, maybe even admiring, and you're floored. Poseidon, the king of petty, is catching feelings for the fish that just humiliated him. You stifle a laugh, because this is peak divine soap opera, and you're not sure whether to cheer or grab popcorn. Let's tie this to history. The Greeks often portrayed gods as flawed, their pride softened by rare moments of humility. Myths like Poseidon's loss to Athena over Athens show him grudgingly accepting defeat, though never gracefully. Here's a quirky tidbit, some tailies. From Paros claim Poseidon once spared a sacred dolphin that outswam his chariot, naming it a sea warden. Historians still argue whether these stories were about divine growth or just ways to humanize gods. You're betting on growth, watching Poseidon hover near the reef, his glow blending with the coral's faint shimmer. He's not bowing to the fish, but he's not cursing it either, and that's progress. The sea's calm now, its currents curling gently around your raft, like it's mirroring Poseidon's mood. You paddle closer, keeping to the shadows, and notice his trident's tip grazing the water, sending tiny ripples that sparkle like the fish's scales. It's almost poetic, and you wonder if he's seeing what you saw in the cove, how the fish doesn't demand love, just earns it. You think of the villagers' petals, the reef's harmony, and smirk joke number one. Maybe Poseidon's planning to hire the fish as his PR coach, learn a thing or two about charm. The thought's ridiculous, but it fits. He's not raging, not scheming, just existing, and it's weirdly human. You settle back, the raft swaying, and watch him drift toward a coral spire, his massive hand brushing it lightly. The sea creatures, once skittish, don't flee. A turtle even nudges closer, like it senses the shift. You're struck by the quiet of it all, the way the sea feels lighter, as if Poseidon's ego isn't crushing it anymore. You yawn. The night's chill sinking in, but you're glued to this moment. He mutters something, too low to catch, but the water carries a warmth, a reluctant respect. You think of Hermes' cackle, Athena's jab, and wonder if they're watching, stunned that they're grumpy brothers having a moment. You hope they are. It's too good not to share. A second joke hits you. Maybe Poseidon's writing a fish fan letter, signed Your Pal, the Sea God. You grin, but the scene's too tender to mock for long. The reef glows faintly, as if echoing the fish's light, and Poseidon's glow softens further, blending with the sea's own shimmer. You think of those fishermen's songs, how they called the fish a gift of the deep, and realize Poseidon might finally get it. Not fully. He's still the guy who tried a geyser stunt, but enough to pause, to see the fish as more than a rival. The stars above pulse, and you lean against the rock, the waves' rhythm slowing your breath. The sea's whispering anew. Story, one where even gods can learn, and you're ready for its final chapter. Asterisk, you're still out here, your raft nestled against the weathered outcrop. The Aegean, now a tranquil expanse under a sky where stars blaze like scattered embers. The air's grown softer, though still cool, wrapping you in a briny mist that smells of salt and faint traces of blooming seaweed. The sea's rhythm is steady, a gentle pulse that rocks your raft like a cradle, and the memory of Poseidon's. Grudging respect lingers, his softened glow a quiet promise of change. You're mulling over that surreal moment, Poseidon, of all gods, learning from a fish when the water shimmers, not with his green flare, but a familiar silver glow. Star of the sea is back, gliding through the shallows, and the ocean feels whole again, like a song finding its final note. You lean forward, the raft creaking, because this isn't just a sighting, it's a celebration. A new harmony settling over the waves. The fish moves with its usual grace, its scales catching starlight in flashes of blue and violet. But there's something different now, a quiet confidence that hums through the water. You paddle closer, keeping to the shadows of the reef, and notice the sea responding, corals glowing brighter, currents weaving around the fish like a dance. Schools of minnows spiral in its wake, and a dolphin leaps nearby, its arc a joyful echo of the fish's light. You smile, because this is the ocean at peace. No whirlpools or tantrums, just a shared rhythm that feels ancient and new all at once. You think of Poseidon's pause, his reluctant nod to the fish, and realize this harmony might be his doing, to a truce, not a surrender. Let's ground this in history. The Greeks saw the sea as a living entity, its creatures and currents, tied to divine balance. In places like Delos, rituals honored the ocean's unity, with offerings to both Poseidon and lesser sea spirits. Here's a quirky tidbit. Some myths from Mykonos describe fish as weavers of the tides, guiding the sea's flow like cosmic thread. Historians still argue whether these tales were metaphors for ecological harmony or literal beliefs in fishy wisdom. You're betting on wisdom, watching the star lead its quiet parade, the sea knitting itself together under its glow. This isn't just a fish. It's a catalyst, and even Poseidon's on board. The reef's alive now, anemones swaying, crabs scuttling in patterns that mimic the fish's loops. You lean over, mesmerized, and catch a faint green shimmer deep below Poseidon, not interfering, just watching. You smirk joke number one. Maybe he's finally joined the fish's fan club, trading his trident for a glow stick. The thought's absurd, but it fits. The fish doesn't acknowledge him, doesn't need to. Its light is enough, binding the sea in a way his storms never could. You think of the villagers' cove, their songs and charms, and imagine them sensing this shift, their shrines glowing under the stars. The sea's theirs too now, shared between God and fish in a fragile, beautiful accord. A turtle glides by, its shell glinting, and you notice other creatures joining: octopuses, jellyfish, even a lone shark circling respectfully. It's not a festival like before, not a show, but something deeper, a communion. You yawn, the night's chill seeping in, but you're spellbound. The fish pauses near a coral arch, its glow pulsing like a heartbeat, and the sea seems to sigh. Content. You think of Athena's sharp wit, Hermes' cackle, and wonder if they're watching, nodding at this unlikely piece. You hope so. It's a story worth telling. The water's warm here, heated by the reef's life, and you feel it too. A warmth that cuts through the cold. A second joke hits you. Maybe the fish and Poseidon are co-authoring a self-help book. How to share the sea without drowning anyone. You grin, but the scene's too serene to mock for long. The fish swims on, its light fading into the depths, but the sea holds its glow, a promise of balance. You lean back, the raft swaying, and let the waves carry you. The stars above feel closer, their light blending with the sea's shimmer, and you think of those fishermen's hymns, calling the fish a gift. They were right. The ocean's new harmony wraps you like a blanket, and you're ready for the final drift. The story's gentle close, just beyond the horizon. You're still here, your raft cradled by the Aegean's tender sway. The sea now a boundless mirror under a sky where stars pulse softly, their light weaving into the water's gentle ripples. The air's cool, a delicate chill that kisses your skin with salt and the faint sweetness of distant blooms carried from some unseen shore. The star of the sea's glow has slipped away, leaving the reef's corals to shimmer faintly, like embers of a fire that won't fade. The ocean hums with the harmony you witnessed Poseidon's quiet respect, the fish's effortless grace, the sea's creatures moving as one. You're drifting, the raft creaking under you, and the world feels softer, as if the waves have smoothed every sharp edge. You lean back, the rock's cool embrace grounding you, and let the sea's rhythm pull you deeper into its story. One last time. The water's alive, but not with the chaos of Poseidon's tantrums or the fish's dazzling parades. It's a quieter life, a pulse that binds coral to current, minnow to shark. You close your eyes, imagining the fish somewhere below, its scales catching stray beams of starlight, guiding the tides without a sound. You think of Poseidon, maybe still watching from his palace, his trident resting, his pride softened by the fish's lesson. The sea's theirs now, shared in a balance that feels fragile yet eternal, like a promise whispered between waves. You? Smile, because it's absurd, a god and a fish finding peace, but it's beautiful, too, and you're grateful to have seen it. Let's tie this to history one last time. The Greeks saw the ocean as a divine tapestry, its creatures and gods, interwoven in myths that explained life's ebb and flow. In places like Naxos, festivals celebrated the sea's unity, with dances mimicking waves and fish. Here's a quirky tidbit. Some Delian hymns describe fish as stars of the deep, guiding sailors and gods alike. Historians still argue whether These were poetic flourishes, or beliefs in a cosmic order, or even fish had a role. You're betting on order, feeling the sea's calm, its creatures moving in sync with the stars' lingering glow. This harmony is what the Greeks sang of, and you're living it now. You shift, the raft's wood groaning, and notice a dolphin nearby, its fin cutting the water in slow, playful arcs. It's not showing off, just existing, like the fish taught. It too. You chuckle joke number one. Maybe the dolphin's the fish's apprentice, learning to steal hearts without a trident. The thought warms you, cutting through the night's chill. You think of the villagers' cove, their petals floating, their songs echoing in your memory. They'd love this quiet sea. Its peace a gift they'd carve into their shrines. You yawn, the waves' rhythm slowing your breath, and feel the story settling, its arcs complete. A second joke drifts in. Maybe Poseidon's writing a fish-inspired haiku, trident swapped for a quill. You grin, but the sea's too serene for more jests. The stars above seem to lean closer, their light blending with the water's shimmer, and you imagine the fish's glow joining them, a constellation born from this night. You think of Athena's wit, Hermes' laughter, and hope they're watching, smiling at this gentle end. The sea's hum wraps you, soft as a lullaby, and you let it carry you, your thoughts dissolving into its flow. The raft rocks, the rock, holds you, and the world feels right, whole, complete. Wind down you're drifting now, the raft barely moving, the Aegean's embrace so soft, it's like sinking into a dream. The stars are fading, their light a gentle whisper, and the sea's hum is slower, deeper, a melody that soothes every thought. You feel the fish's glow in your chest, a warm spark that says all is well. The waves cradle you, their rhythm a promise of rest, and you imagine the ocean stretching forever, its creatures sleeping under coral and kelp. Poseidon's there too, his palace quiet, his heart eased by the fish's gift. You're safe, wrapped in the sea's arms, its whispers fading to silence. Let your eyes close, let your breath slow. Let the water carry you to a place where stories bloom like stars. Sleep now gently, deeply, as the sea holds you close.